Hey, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 1667. I'm back. I did a Friday show, didn't I? Can't remember. I know I didn't do too many shows last week, but I was early on Monday and Tuesday, and then I think I skipped. Did I skip Wednesday, Thursday? Came back on Friday. I can't remember. But hey, we had an awesome Madison Card Show all around. It was a great show. We're going to talk about that today. It's cold. That didn't keep people away. I think more people were out and about Friday and Saturday. Friday was like the coldest day we've had in I don't know how long, how many years, but I had to run some errands. I had to go to the bank to get cash for the admission gate. Where else did I go? I went up to the Village Green. A couple of my eBay Live customers from Fargo, North Dakota drove all the way from Fargo to Madison just for the card show. So they came in and made a short weekend out of it. So they'd messaged me and said, "Hey, we're at the Village Green, which is my local dive bar." And I'm like, "All right, I'll come meet you guys." So, and it was packed. It's like 40 below zero wind chills. The frickin' bar is packed. The card show Saturday, frickin' packed. Liberty Station after the show, frickin' packed. People are just I want to get out of the house. I don't care if it's the news tells me I have to stay home. Holy moly. So it was a good show. Good weekend. Now I'm looking forward to I bought so much stuff. I bought so much good stuff. I do a show and tell, but we'd be showing and telling all day. So you're just going to have to hang out my next few live shows. So I've actually got quite a bit in my buying yesterday. I really curated what I wanted and I planned out, and I've scheduled out like the next 2 weeks. Plus I've got a couple shows like in March, which gosh, is only like 6 weeks away. Awesome. I don't want time to go too fast, but hey, let's get to spring training, right? So I've got a spring training show scheduled. I've got a fantasy baseball draft. I think that same weekend, which is like the worst. I should have said something, but I didn't really think about it at the time. But I've got the big Arizona State Card Show is the middle weekend. It's actually the same weekend as the Spectacular in Chicago. So I'll be at spring training. Chase Field, I think it's 650 tables. So I'm going to go check that out. It opens Friday, and that is a Cubs away game. So I don't know what the hours are that first day, but I'll get there when doors open. I might have some people that can maybe get me in a little early. So I'll check that show out, and I'll do a stream. eBay's actually doing they don't often do special events, but they're doing something for the NBA All-Star Weekend. eBay tells me people want basketball. My results don't mirror that. My basketball results. Now, I'm also not running bigger, shiny stuff. But when I do, I'm not doing that well. And I'm just not seeing the demand there. But I want to try. So I am going to do, I've got, I think, 3 shows scheduled for NBA All-Star Weekend. We may pivot. It may be a last-second pivot. We'll see how it goes. But there's a category, a specific category for NBA All-Star Weekend. So I've been yesterday. I was sourcing some basketball. Like, okay, I'll hold this for a couple of weeks. I think was it like Valentine? I think it's Valentine's Day weekend because I think the All-Star game is the 15th. So it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They have like a category for it. So that's the All-Star weekend. So I've got some shows scheduled that weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm going to do a vintage night. I wanted to push any specific nights. I actually sat down here on Friday morning to plan out some special events, and I didn't want to plan anything out this week because I want to give myself some runway to actually promote, which I don't often do. I don't do enough. So I've got a vintage night, I think, scheduled next week. I also had to source. I had to source for vintage. I had to source for basketball. I had to source for wrestling. I have a wrestling show this coming Saturday. And I have some anchors. I picked up a Hulk Hogan relic a few weeks back. I picked up the Godfather autograph. I've got the Hogan auto. So I've got some anchors, but I needed more. And I did pick up some good wrestling stuff yesterday at the show. That'll be run this coming Saturday. I picked up a lot of vintage, which I will sprinkle vintage throughout, but I do want to have enough for a special vintage only night. I'm not sure what this coming weekend will bring for me. There's a big card show in Milwaukee. It's a 3-day show in Milwaukee. The Royal Rumble's during the day because it's over in Saudi Arabia. So I will not be going to the show on Saturday. If I do, it would probably be Friday, but I don't know. So we'll see. I also bought enough yesterday that it should carry me for a week. I filled a storage tub, one of those big storage tubs, and I'm saying, it might last me a week. That's good turnover. And I think I was having a conversation at one of my card shops this week about sourcing, and they're running into a bottleneck. Their bottleneck is we've got all this stuff, we don't have time to price it or comp it, and I've got a bottleneck of I need more inventory, and so I think we can work together. And all right, what did you pay for this? You make a margin, you give me a price, and let's work it out that way. That's ideal for me. I don't want to do any consignments. Just makes more work. I don't want more work. I want less work. So hopefully we can get something to do with that. And I think over the next couple of weeks, now I say, oh, I should be good for a couple of weeks, a couple of weeks, but I won't be, because I've got, I'll run 200 auctions tonight. I'll probably run 250 on Tuesday, 250 on Wednesday, 250 on Thursday. I'll probably go back on weekends. We'll do extended bidding with 200 auctions, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we'll see how wrestling goes. We might do 250 Saturday. We'll see. But that's how many auctions is it? 200. That's like 1,300 auctions this week. So it's a lot of cards. But I'm sure I bought more than that in cards. So I want to talk about the Madison Card Show. What else is going on? eBay Live. I just ran my numbers. Of course, I haven't done anything. I haven't really had any weekend. Last weekend I did, Friday was a short show. I think I did a couple $100 last Friday. Saturday I did really well because I brought higher end stuff. It was an hour show, but I did really well. And then Tuesday through Thursday, the shows, I did okay. Good numbers for weeknights. But not having the anchors of weekend streams has hurt my numbers a little bit. But you also have to take into consideration I did a lot of cash at the convention last week. But with that said, year to date, I am still 864% in net sales over last year. Now, I didn't start eBay Live until the end of April, so I'm going to see giant percentage growths for the next 5, for the next 5 months, because we're at the end of January. So the next 5 months, I'm still going to see that. And then once we get to the second half of the year, that's where we're really going to notice, how am I growing? Am I growing? And I can take a look over the last, I guess let's take a look at, I guess we're going to have to do a custom. Let's do from November. I just want to see my November 2025 to the 24th. And we'll compare that to the previous How many days is that? 85 days. So I grew. So in the past 85 days, my sales growth was 37% over the previous 85 days. So that kind of gives us, and that's good growth. I'd like to continue seeing that. I'm at the point where I want to see continued. I don't want to grow 10% at this point. I'm still in my growing phase of live selling. So it's not like the buy it now where I was, I'd done it for 4 years and, 10%, 20% growth is your norm. I wasn't happy with that. I wasn't gonna, it's like, this can't continue. And I've talked about that before. Like, this growth, these sales numbers cannot continue if I want to make what I want to make. And doing the low end, high volume game, just not working. And the more you sell, the more work there is. And starting to know now, can you make it work? Yes, absolutely. I didn't want to make it work like that. I didn't want to do that. And we evolve and things change. What I say today may not be what I believe in a year from now. You just grow and evolve and learn from mistakes. Let's go to the chat. We'll talk a little bit about the Madison Card Show yesterday. Donnie's in the house. What's going on? Good morning. Philly Joe is here. Good morning. The dudes are here. What's happening? Cooter says good morning from DFW, where 1.25 inches of sleet and snow brings 4 million people to the verge of panic. Yeah, you don't get that often in Dallas. John's in the house. What's going on? Life with Hazel. Good morning. Jayla plays. What's going on? Bro. Cooter says, unless it's one of a dozen names in PSA 10s, there is no basketball market. That market has no sustainable base beyond bangers and the latest Instagram post. To an extent, I think that's, I'd like to quiz my eBay people that keep telling me people want basketball. What do they want? Do they want PSA 10s? Do they want steak at yogurt prices? That's probably what they want. So we'll see. I'm going to inject a little more basket and just test. Some of the, as I was shopping yesterday, I was targeting, there's a few things that I target. I run vintage. It is so hard to find vintage football slabs and vintage basketball slabs. It's like 100-1 baseball over football, basketball. One of my dealers, Mike, has a booth out in the atrium, has an entire booth out there. He's got awesome prices, awesome vintage. I spend a lot of money with him every month at the venue. And I'm bummed he won't be there next month, but he'll be back for a future show. He might even come back for a hotel show. Normally he's only done the big shows, which I won't have after February. We won't be back at Alliant until July. And speaking of my buying, now looking forward thinking, my buying leading into the National, it's probably going to be the same. Who am I kidding? But it's one of those things where I've got to start thinking about, okay, how am I going to handle? Am I going to do a stream? If I do choose to do a stream, I've got to make sure to book a hotel with high-speed internet, unlike last year's hotel. So that's something I've got to think about as we approach July and August. Sheena, what's going on? Good morning. Sheena was set up yesterday at the Madison Card Show. A great show. I had so many people say, "Are you surprised?" And I'm like, "Of course not. Of course I'm not surprised." I was a little surprised that we had the amount of people there, despite 10 below zero and $10 parking. People still showed up, so that's a good thing. And here's the thing: when you have you could have a giant room, and this is what I like about $10 parking and $5 admission. It brings people out that are going to spend money. You're not going to spend $10 to park and $5 to get into a show, $15 in the door, and just look around and window shop and stand in front of somebody's table for a half an hour and spend $1 or $2 or $3. So that's what I like about the Alliant. I also like to have a free show at the hotel where people can just come and hang out. And but you may have somebody sitting right in the dead center of your table looking at cards for an hour, get up and walk away. You don't want that. I did have, speaking of that, I had I think at the end of the day, it was just an awkward person. We had some theft issues at the December show. And I learned about a third one yesterday. So there were two that I learned about, immediately the day of the show. And then the third one I didn't find out from the dealer told me yesterday morning. And so I had I had a dealer approach me and he's like, hey, there's this guy. He built a stack with me. He was at my table for like 30 minutes. And he's like comping these dollar cards. And then he walked away and he had a stack and then he just walked away. Didn't buy a thing. Oh, okay. And then he went to another table, did the same thing. And the two dealers know each other. So he went over and he's like, hey, did that guy buy anything? He's like, no, he had a stack and then he just left. So I think that the second dealer like approached him and said, hey, did you? And he's like, oh no, I put everything back. So that's a little shady. So they told me. So I'm like, okay. And this is what I was telling another dealer. I'm going off on random tangents. I told somebody else later in the show, I'm like, this is actually, it's a lot of work. Whether the card shows at the hotel, the card shows at the Alliant, it's a lot of work. The good thing about the Alliant show is the work is like in the 3 weeks before the show. And like the day of the show, it's kind of like I have little small, the first thing in the morning, East Coast Tom, awesome job once again. He handles the registration and the check-in, does a great job. He helps dealers and he's kind of good customer service throughout the show. And then I've got my buddy's kids, Nathan, Timmy, and Quinn. They handle the gate. We've got security. So I've got these people on my team, I guess, that handle most of the stuff that takes time, which allows me to be able to go put out small fires. Like, hey, I don't need all these chairs. Okay, I'll move these chairs. Hey, I need a chair. Okay, I'll get you a chair. If there's any issues with, hey, shout out to Treasure, the website that we've been using. Haven't had any issues the last 2 months with. Last month we had a couple issues, but it was on the user, on the dealer not choosing the right thing. Like, okay, next time this is like you're picking that table. You're not picking a table. You're picking that specific table. That's why it's numbered. So we didn't have any of that this month. Just random stuff. There's a booth it's awkward. It wasn't a booth at the first show. We added that booth due to demand for the second show. Unfortunately, one of the dealer that was in the back was pissed off because he was staring at a wall. And then he sent me probably a drunk text message 2 weeks later. Didn't talk to me face to face at the show. He waited 2 weeks and bitched about it. Sorry. All right. I'll just remove that table. So it's a horseshoe now. And it has been not an issue, but the last 2 months, people who've been there like, hey, can we do this? I'm like, yeah. So the guys that had it this month bought all 3 tables. And I'm like, and they're like, can we get another table? And I'm like, well, I don't have another table. The hotel runs out of tables too, but usually I bring extras, but like, I don't have access to additional tables. But if you want this spot next month, I can add a 4th table into this booth if you're okay. I told them the story about the when I first put the booth there, the dealer that had that table was pissed because he had to stare at the wall. So, so I have the ability day of the show to just walk around and if there's something shady going on, I can keep an eye on it. So that's what and it was kind of annoying because I spent like 45 minutes. It was also during the busiest time of the show, so it was kind of difficult to keep an eye on somebody at the same time as not looking like I'm keeping an eye on somebody. So I'm standing at like dealers' tables. I'm kind of walking around and all that. So, and I watched the guy. So he builds a stack with one dealer, doesn't buy anything, goes to the next table, doesn't buy anything. Now he's at another table. So, so I'm there and I'm talking to one of my dealers. I'm talking to Steve from Sports Card Grading, Nick from Sports Card Grading. I'm talking to another dealer. It's hard for me and I'm trying to I can't see. But and eventually I just told the dealer, I'm like, hey, just keep an eye on there's some, it's shady. It might be innocent, but we had issues and I want to make sure we don't have issues. So I'm like, just kind of keep an eye on this. And so he did. I went back later. I'm like, and he's like, yeah, he spent some money with me. I'm like, okay. And I did. And I did see him he was like comping cards and then he would put them back in the box. And I told the dealer that first told me about it. I told him and I'm like, he's putting them in the box. And he's like, I know, but it's really shit. I'm like, okay. If you keep an eye, let's just all be vigilant. And so I didn't have any reported thefts yesterday, which is a good thing, a great thing. And no issue. We had one issue towards the end of the show on a Facebook post, and they messaged me too, and they're like, this dealer ripped me off. And it's one of those, the customer came in and sold a card and then claims he got ripped off. It's like, so Tom first brought it to my attention and I read it and I'm like, I don't care. Like, this is an adult that's selling a card. And you've got to take responsibility for your actions. Do the homework. Like, you have the internet and all of these places to comp cards at your fingertips. And you're coming to a card show to sell cards. You're not going to get ripped off unless you choose to get ripped off. People don't take fucking responsibility. So I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like, I'm not, this is between a dealer and a customer. I don't see anything shady based on what he's typed out to me. I'm like, I don't care. Like, this is between those two. Like, I don't have time for this. I'm not the police. I'm not the comp police. So I decided I'm going to go just tell the dealer, just to let him know, like, hey, because by this time he made the buyer or the seller, the customer had made a post on the Facebook page. So I'm like, hey, I just want you to know, here, read it for yourself. And I could tell by his reaction, the dealer's reaction, because sometimes you can tell if somebody knowingly ripped somebody off. And I don't want dealers ripping people off either. But at the end of the day, I want people to be responsible, not be shady, not be unethical. But everybody has to protect themselves. So, if it's a shady person, you can tell right away. You can usually tell, you can read a person right away. And didn't see that whatsoever. Because I'm like, hey, somebody on Facebook just said that you bought a card from them and ripped them off. And he just like, huh? He's like, I bought a lot of cards today. And I'm like, well, here's the post. And he's reading it. And the person put like the card, the actual card. He's like, and he looks at it and he's like, and so another dealer with him was like, what card was that? He's like, it was the Guadador or whatever it was. And he's like, I paid him sticker. He's like, he had a price. He had a price on it. And I paid him that. And I'm like, this guy's dumber than I thought. God damn. So I'm like, all right. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I just want you to know. I just want you to know. So and he responded. He's like, I'll sell it. And the dealer was like, I'll sell it back to him at the price I bought it for. Like, I paid him what he wanted for it. So, and the customer even admitted, like, he mislabeled it. That it's your own fault. You making it worse than it actually oh my goodness. They worked it out. They got into contact. And I'm like, yo, hey, because I still saw the post like an hour or two later. And I'm like, hey, reach out to this guy. Like, he's willing to make it right. And so he did. And he deleted the post. So all is good. So essentially, it was just miscommunication. And it all worked out. But God damn. Be smarter than that. And I mean, that was, hey, and if that's the biggest issue, it was a success. Massive attendance. Highest attended show we've had, which says something. People want to get out the house. So it was a great show. Let's go back to the chat. James in the house, what's going on? Dat dude from Duryea, what's up? Snow piling up quick here in the Poconos. The casino even closed most of the complex. That puts things in perspective. Wow. No snow here outside of, we got some snow last week. So we've got snow. Just cold weather. Roads are nice and dry, which also helps. I'd rather have 30 below zero wind chills. And that point was proven yesterday, because people will come out. They'll put a hat on. They'll put a coat on. And I kept telling people, they're like, are you surprised this many people came out? And I'm like, have you ever seen a game at Lambeau Field in this weather? People fill Lambeau Field with these temperatures, and they're sitting outside. Today, all you got to do is put a coat on and brave the cold walk from the parking lot to the door, because we got heat inside. We got a roof over our heads. Like, God, no, I'm not surprised. Gem City says, stay safe, my friends, in snow and ice wonderlands. Chasing Majors in the house. Good morning. Gem City says, Cooter, I'm not sure I agree. There's plenty of basketball market in the low end. I will say I have success on 90s basketball. Man, Penny Hardaway. I've got a huge market for Penny Hardaway. So there are certain modern. The modern market is not good for me. But every once in a while, I'll get it's basketball, modern basketball on my eBay live streams. I'm not just saying live streams or eBay live. I'm on my eBay live streams. Modern basketball might be the most volatile market of anything that I've ever seen. Because one day I could sell Luka base cards for $20. And the next day, $1 or not even get a bid. It's just extremely volatile. Sophie Cunningham has become, I mean, some days there's like a bidding war and like her Donruss base card goes for $25. The next day it sells for $1. Modern basketball is super volatile, which is why I tend to stay away. I have good luck with like Allen Iverson rookies. I can get a nice return on those. I've got this box of basketball Jordans can be kind of volatile. Everything on eBay Live can be volatile, but modern basketball, the most volatile market I've seen. SoCal guy in the house. Good morning. Gem City says they want to see your beautiful face. Southern Land Cards. Good morning. Glad to catch you live. Usually listen to replay on the way home in the evening. Well, awesome. Glad you tune in and glad to have you here live. Junkwax Heroes, good morning. They call me Cuban Pete. I'm the king of the rumba beat. When I play the maracas, I go chiggy, 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 boom, boom, chiggy, chiggy, boom, boom. Gem City says, oh, Pokemon, even easier to know price. Andy's in the house. Good morning. Great show yesterday. Thank you for coming up. Andy came up. By the way, Andy looks great. What did he say? He lost like 90 pounds. So awesome to see Andy and his kids. Orlando, what's going on? Good morning. I'm outside, but it's 75 degrees here. It's -2 here, I think. -2. Oh, warmed up to 0. Our severe weather advisory expires at not till midnight. Oh shit! So we got all day. But I'm not going anywhere today. Sunday fun day around here. I think I'm gonna do a little shipping when I finish up here, and then what time do the football games start today? Because I think during the football games I'm gonna spread out on the rec room floor. I've got a giant plastic storage tub of all my pickups from yesterday. I bought a 4-row bot from my eBay Live friends that drove in from Fargo, where it's probably even colder. I bought a 4-row box of stuff from them. I started with they're so awesome. I met them up at Village Green, local dive bar. They're in town from Fargo. First time I met them. 2:00 for the Patriots and Broncos. Okay, so I'll do some shipping, eat lunch, and then spread out on the floor. That's what she said. So met up with them, and so they brought some cards. They're like, we got some cards that we think they even like sorted and have them like organized, because that's my biggest Achilles heel. And so they're like, just buy what you want. And so I go through and I found some slabs, and I found a couple other like random cards. I think I had like 10 cards. And I'm like, so what do you want for these 10 cards? They're like, that's all you found out of that whole box. And I'm like, well, yeah. So I kind of wanted just to see, like, I don't want to, what if they're way overpriced? Like, I don't want to buy this whole box and they're like, oh, we want $4,000 for that box. And so I picked out like 10 cards. And so the wife goes, she's like, I think I have like $25 into these. And I'm like, well, you got to make money. Like, I'm not just going to pay you $25 and you break even. Like, there's got to be room for it. And I'm like, they're like, well, what do you think? Actually, they said, what do you think? What would you offer? And I don't do that. I'm like, you've got to give me a number. And they're like, well, you just tell us what you would. I'm like, you got to give me a number. I'm like, I have a number in my head. And now you give me a number. And we'll see where we're at. So then she's like, well, I've got like $25 into them. She's like, I'm thinking like 40. I'm like, all right, I was thinking 100. Like I can make some money. Like I'll make, I'm not going to make double my money on 100. I might, who knows? But that's a number I'm comfortable with paying. And they were both like, oh, no. Like, no way you're paying 100. Like, we were thinking to sell you the box, all of this for like 60, maybe 70. And I'm like, oh God, no. And they're like, if you give us 100, you have to take the whole box. All right, twist my arm. I'm like, okay, I'll do that if you insist. Now, there's a lot of like commons and stuff in there, but there were like 8, 5, 6, 7, 8 Paige Beckers rated rookies. Now, that market, there's been so much WNBA Donruss. That market's been dying off, like Sophie Cunningham. And I think there were some Sophies in there, some Caitlins. So, like, that stuff will do pretty well. There might have been a Colston Loveland rookie, which has been really well. I've got to get rid of all those, like, now, though, because, football's almost over. But there was a lot of stuff in there that's like, as I was kind of like flipping through it later, I'm like, damn, there's like, this is a really good buy at $100. So, and I didn't spend really any time in dollar boxes. My buddy Craig, he's got like the $5 boxes. And, I went to the show like first thing, because there were a few dealers that I wanted to get to first, and of course other dealers got there before me. It's like, God, I wanted to be the first. So I went over to Craig and I'm like, where should I look? Because usually he's like, okay, look in this box, or look in the front of these 2 boxes, or these, look in the fronts. So I'm like, where should I look? And he's like, oh, you're gonna want to look in every box, and like not just the front, like. He's like, there's a lot of good stuff. And there was. I bought a lot of stuff from him. I'm trying to think. I think what was really good about yesterday's show is there were a lot of new dealers to my show. Not necessarily not like first-time dealers, but first-time to Madison that I hadn't seen, with stuff that I like for eBay Live, like cheap slabs. Like one guy had like $15 Paul Skeens and Ellie De La Cruz PSA 9s, and there were some 10s and Otani slabs like for $15. I'm like, oh my goodness. I bought a whole bunch of stuff from him. There was one table. There was a couple things I didn't buy. That and Mark is alluding to it, the 55 Bowman. So there were a few tables where it's like, but by the time I went back around, it's like, I've spent a lot of money. I'm pretty good for now. One guy had, they were younger kids, probably, I don't know, in their 20s maybe. And they had like shitty slabs, like junk slabs. And they were appropriately priced. Like there were like $5. There were a bunch of like, early 70s Kellogg's 3D superstars, like graded by CSG, like the only competitor now in the grading space. So like CSG, and like they're like ones and 1.5s, but he had them at like $5, and it wasn't like Nolan Ryan or any huge names. It was like the commons. But at that price, it's like, I'm probably only going to get $5. Like I might get $10, but at that point it's like, and I'm going through, and there were some he had a ton of like off-brand Randy Johnson rated rookies. Like, I mean, like a dozen of them. And I think they were $5. Those I could have probably made a good amount of money on. And then there were some like the WCG 10 Jordans at like 25. But they weren't like, I think those probably would have been a tough sell for me at that price. Now, a tough sell, not at all, but at that price. So I thought about, if I can get the box for like around $2 or $3 a slab, but then I'm like, I don't know if they'll go for that. And I'm like, I've got a bunch of slabs. I bought a ton of slabs yesterday. It's like, these are basically just like filler stuff. They'd be good. They'd probably be good for like if I do a daytime. I haven't been doing any daytime streams, but I like just running crappier stuff during the day because it's a lot of bargain hunters during the day that basically put a bid in trying to get stuff for $1 and nobody else bids. So it's like dollar deals basically. And then the other thing is what Mark is alluding to is the 55 Bowman. So one of my dealers who I bought, I don't think I bought as much yesterday as I did last month. And I don't think he had anything new, with the exception of he had bulk lots of like 50s. He had a 53 Tops bulk lot. He had another 50 set. And then he had 55 Bowman. And the 55 Bowman was, he had a sticker of $1,000 for like 340 cards or something. I love 55 Bowman. And I thought this would be a good, like low end 1955 Bowman night. There were no star. Like I think there was a George. I saw George Kell. There was a Bobby Thompson. There was one other like semi-star, but nothing like. It was mostly commons. I would call them low to mid grade. For the most part, they were all crease free. There were a few that had some creases. The corners were obviously not sharp, but they weren't rounded. They weren't beaters. And I can't even begin to guess where they would grade. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, they were like threes, fours, maybe. But in reality, they might be 1s and 2s. Like, I just don't know. But I would consider them low to mid grade. My definition on like a 55 Bowman, low grade would be a crease, really bad corner. Mid grade, no creases. Corners are okay, not sharp certainly. but not rounded, anything like that, not beaters. So, that's like, what was the price? It was over 300 cards. So you're looking over $3 a card. I think it was like 330 cards. So that's like what, 333 a card? No, that's right at $3. Thought I was better at math than that. So it was around $3 a card, which I thought, like, that's a little high. If I can get that number down a little bit. So I texted Mark and I said, hey, where would you be at on 300, whatever, 325? I can't remember what number I gave him, but where would you be at this? And I think Mark's initial tech was like $400 or something, $300, $400. I'm like, okay, he's significantly overpriced on these. Now, I know he would work. I know he would, and he gives me good deals without even me asking. So I know he would come down significantly on that number. I don't know if he would have came down that far. I know he still had him at the end of the show. And I told him, I'm like, I'm kind of interested in the 55 Bowmans. I saw him, like, as he was leaving, he's like, hey, let me know about those 55. If you're interested in those 55s, I probably should have just said, hey, I'll do $1 a card on them. He probably would have taken it. I don't know. After the show ends, we'll see. I don't know if he's going to be back in the February, because he takes Denny's tables. That's in the chat sometimes. So I don't know if he'll be there, but I'll reach out, because at $1 a card, I'm comfortable. I'm basically comfortable paying $1 a card for just about anything like that. I was going to say I'm comfortable paying $1 a card for just about anything. No, I'm not. But for something that I think would have a good audience, that would have, I think, a 55 Bowman night. If I ran some commons, they might only sell for $2-3 a card, but I would have fun with it. It would be like, now I don't want to run 1955 Bowman night every week like I did wrestling night every week, because then I got tired. I got bored with it. I think people got bored with it. But if I do like a one-off, like, hey, tonight's going to be 55 Bowman. Like next month, maybe we do 53 tops or whatever set it might be. And I think that would be kind of fun. It would be fun for me. And I think some people might enjoy that. Cooter says, Bo ripping off sellers by paying them more than they want, right? It's like I had to force them to take my money. Please take my money. Dat Dude from Duryea says, I agree, seeing some old teams that are long forgotten by most. I wonder how many kids know about any of it. Hence, no stars or umps. Gem City says, I own one 1955 Bowman Comet I got at the National. $2 buy. Jeff Wilson, however, ripped a sealed pack for like $5K for the same card. Tail as old as wax. Yeah, and he ripped that with my buddy Justin, who helped me out at the Cubs convention last week, Rabbit Hole Auctions. Mark says, if you got them for $500, it would work for your audience, and then add an Aaron and Mantle. That's a really good idea. That would have been a really good idea. And I'm sure I can probably, he might even let him go for $1, after, because I know he had some people interested, but not even close to that number. I don't know if I have his but I have Denny's contact. I can text Denny and be like, hey, Mark's got this box of 55 Bowmans. You think he would let him go for $1 a card? And that would be good, because I can find, and 55 Bowmans are pretty easy to, especially Aaron's and Mantle. Aaron's around here, like Aaron's are, there's a lot. It's funny, because Milwaukee Braves, I get people asking in my eBay live streams, like, hey, do you have any Packers? I'm like, I don't really buy that many Packers just because of where I am. Packers are at a premium. Like, Packers are overpriced. And so my friends from North Dakota said the same thing. He's like, man, I'm trying to find Packer stuff, and everything's like, he's like, I can get it for half the price in Fargo. I'm like, when in Rome, right? When in Rome. It's like, yeah, I don't get very many deals in Chicago for Cubs cards. Actually, I really don't get very many good deals in Wisconsin for Cubs cards. There's a lot of Cubs fans here. So it was a great show, biggest attended show to date at the Madison Card Show, despite the weather. And there were a ton of, like, not only the weather, but there was a small show in Milwaukee yesterday. There were 2 large shows in the suburbs, Killdeer, which I don't know where it's at. I Crystal Lake area, maybe. I think they had 150 tables. The Premier guys had a show in Wheaton that was over 200 tables, like 220 tables, something like that. So there was a lot of shows. I think there was a show in Minneapolis yesterday, maybe, which is, I mean, now Minneapolis to Madison is 3 hours. Even Milwaukee's an hour and a half. Wheaton's 2 hours, a little over 2 hours. So like, there's a lot of, like, this isn't 2010 anymore. Like there's a lot of people and having big shows. Now, big buyers may not, one big buyer may go to Madison where they would have went to Wheaton if the shows weren't on the same date and vice versa. But there's only 4 weekends in a month. And hey, when you can sell out tables at all of these shows, that's a great thing. So hopefully it keeps on keeping on. So next Madison Card Show is at the Alliant. It's on February 21st. For dealers, it's tables will open for rebooking tomorrow. So that link will be up. So you're rebooking the tables you had yesterday. Once the deadline passes, I'll map it out. There'll be open tables. If you want to move locations, dealers can move to a closer spot if you wish. And I'll let that go for about a day or two, and then we'll open it up to anybody can book for that February 21st show. And I know there's going to be a few dealers that can't do the show for whatever reason. So there will be openings, but it won't be open to anybody that didn't vend yesterday. That'll open up at some point probably middle of next week. Because I'm going to give it probably till maybe Friday to rebook, and then I'll over the weekend, and then maybe Monday. We'll see. Let's see. Andy says, we live 20 minutes from Wheaton. I know where the best show around is. Yeah. That 2-hour trip to Madison is worth it. How about that? Thank you. Appreciate that. That's awesome. So tonight, I've got the link in the description. Tonight, eBay Live. A lot of stuff that I picked up today. Some holdovers that I've bought previously. I'm going to run this Connor Griffin. There's like almost 50 people following this. This is going to go up for grabs tonight. Future Cornerstones Connor Griffin auto of 99. He is the top prospect in baseball. I've got a Mickey Mantle, 1961 Topps All-Star. Say that's a nice low grade. I don't think there's any creases. Oh yeah, there's a small crease in the bottom left corner. So it's definitely low grade. But that'll go up tonight. Even low grade mantles are good. I only picked up one man. I picked up the 58 All-Star yesterday, which I love that one. That's probably my favorite mantle. Oh, the 55 Bowman's a favorite too. And the 62. I've got the 62 Topps All-Star in my showcase just because that was the first vintage card my brother gave me. It's not that specific one. But he gave me that card when I was a kid for keeping my room clean for 2 weeks, and I don't think I actually did. He just gave me the card anyway. So, all right, I'm going to go do some shipping. We got some football this afternoon. I'm wearing my Bears hoodie just because, hey, we had a great season. I wish I was watching the Bears today, but it's a good season nonetheless. So have a great day. We'll see you tonight. We're going to start at 8 o'clock Central tonight. So it's going to be a late stream, probably go 4 hours, probably 8 to midnight, which means I probably won't come on here tomorrow morning for Hobby Evolution. Probably do a little sleeping in. So have a wonderful Sunday. I'll see you tonight on eBay Live.